Live, a Merrill Moss Media and BookTrib production. We have a new author interview with our fabulous partner NetGalley today, and we're chatting with USA Today bestselling author Rachel Hauck on her new release, The Wedding Chapel, which is due out tomorrow. So thank you so much for joining us today, and happy almost pub day to you.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to be here.
And for those of you who might not be familiar with Rachel's work, her previous book, The Wedding Dress, was named Inspirational Novel of the Year by Romantic Times and was also a RITA finalist. And also, I wanted to let our viewers know that we're offering a really wonderful giveaway. We're giving away signed copies of The Wedding Chapel, as well as a $25 gift card to Amazon and a $25 gift card to Barnes & Noble, so that's fantastic news. Please stop by and enter to win on BookTrib after the chat. So, Rachel, before we begin our questions from the audience, and I have some questions for you from me,
All right.
can you tell us a little bit more about The Wedding Chapel? Just get us up to speed about your latest.
Okay. For those of you who have read The Wedding Dress, it's not necessarily a sequel, but it's going to kind of be in the collection of. And it's a slip time story. So it's set in 1940s, late 1940s, early 1950s, and then in contemporary timeline. So we get a fun look at the late 40s, early 50s in the South. And it's about a wedding chapel in which there have been no weddings. So I just really, when I came up with the idea, I thought, well, a wedding chapel with a bunch of weddings would be what we would expect. So what can we not expect? And so it's really taking a look at why the chapel was built, why it had no weddings, who are the people involved in it, and it's kind of looking at, does true love ever die? Does true love ever go away? Or how long does it last? And can it ever be requited if it's unrequited? So, and then the contemporary couple is kind of dealing with an elopement and did we do the right thing? And they're 6 months in and all of their junk is coming to the surface. So.
Which is one of the best parts of reading a novel.
Right,
We love all that.
when the junk comes.
So you were writing on your blog about the role that jealousy plays in this particular book. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
It's about, wow, yeah. Oh, it's about sibling jealousy and sibling rivalry. It's about the girls in the 40s. They're sisters, and they were orphaned during World War II in England. And when they had that totally different view of how they look at the war. One of them is, hey, we survived, we're good, and the other one was like, hey, it robbed us of everything. And it takes a look really at bitterness and how it can seed into our lives, and we really aren't looking at life right when you become bitter and jealous. And so we're looking at the sibling rivalry and how deep it goes and how much it destroys lives.
Yeah. And so when you started writing The Wedding Chapel, were there any books or films in particular that inspired this story, or was it totally from your imagination?
From my imagination, and there is a movie called The Wedding Chapel. This happens to me. I came up with the idea for The Wedding Dress, and the Hallmark movie wasn't out. And I'm not kidding, like 2 months later, there it was everywhere, right? So I'm like Googling, is there a Wedding Chapel movie? And there was, and I watched it, but it was really kind of like the community chapel. I don't know why they called it the Wedding Chapel. It was a really cute movie, really well done, but it really wasn't about weddings. It was about community. So, so that didn't help me too much. Actually, I was talking to my editor, actually my publisher, and I was on vacation in Tennessee, and I was driving down the side of the mountain to get a phone signal so I could talk to her. And I drove by this wedding chapel. It said Chapel in the Glen, and I thought, the wedding chapel. And I get on the phone with her, and we were discussing like next ideas, and were we going to try to write more royal wedding books or not? And all of a sudden I go, well, what about the wedding chapel? And she's like, the wedding chapel? I love it. And by the time I got back to my cabin and checked email, which I could check, everybody was on board. The entire team was on board. We love it. And I go, you don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is. But we just had that ping and that ring about it. So that's when I started turning it upside down. Originally, I thought, let's look at all the women who got married there and take a look at that. We wanted to go back to the slip time. I love writing in the dual timelines, historical and contemporary. That's really fun for me. I feel like it's something that I can do pretty well. So I said, I think there have been no weddings. And then that's what started the journey of figuring out. What am I going to
Awesome.
do? Yeah.
Yeah. So I would imagine that you're probably a plotter since you're going back and forth and it's historical, but maybe not. Are you a plotter or a pantser in terms of your writing style?
I'm a plantser. So I do both, really. So what I do is really develop the characters. So I take a look at who is the guy who built the chapel? Why did he build the chapel? Let's take a look at these two sisters.
Right.
What motivates them? So I always do this kind of wound, lie, fear journey, and I'm part of a writing group called My Book Therapy, which was founded by Susie May Warren, and we talk a lot about, what is the story? Because every story is about something. And if it's about the character, there's no such thing as a plot-driven book. I'm going to bust everybody's bubble. Some have more plot than others, but every book is about the people in the book. And so what I do is really make sure I know those characters. Who am I telling the story about? And then I delve into all of those semantics. And then I start looking at, I don't know how to build a wedding chapel. How do you build a wedding chapel? And I talked to a really great guy from Tennessee that the publisher knew, Wes Yoder. He's actually an agent. He built a wedding chapel, so he talked to me and gave me some insight into that. So then it just was a matter of figuring out how you're going to put all the pieces together. So that I kind of do by the seat of my pants.
So she's a plantser, the first ever plantser in BookTrib live chats.
All right, cool. There we go.
When you're working on a new novel, do you ever create like a song playlist? Do you ever like music in the background? Like, is there anything that you do when you're writing that you always?
I used to never like the music because it's distracting and it can change your emotions. You guys have ever experienced that? You're like, I was in a spin class one time and she was playing like techno, like oonja oonja, and I like wanted to get off my bike and go punch the instructor. And I'm like, why am I angry? And I left the class. And I left the class and the music, and I was fine. I'm like, oh, it was the music. So I am very careful about music because, but I usually listen to, I'm a big Bethel music fan. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Oh, cool.
Jesus Culture. And I just kind of listen around. Sometimes I'll be on YouTube and I'll just like play something over and over in the background. One time I like listened to Michael Bublé until I think my eyes said Michael Bublé. So it just depends on emotionally where I'm at.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I'm stuck and you're not feeling emotion, you find that song that really taps your emotion. I downloaded Carrie Underwood's new album, and it has a couple songs on there that really kind of hit you in your heart, in the core. And the melody's nice, and the words are nice, and so I might play that for a little bit to get me kind of going. But it's iffy.
Awesome. Yeah. Some people like silence, but I think that would drive me crazy. I'd need something to get me pumped up.
Yeah, you do sometimes in the beginning.
Changing the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your heart there.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. We have several questions from the audience, so I'm going to take one from audience. Susan. Thanks, guys, for all the questions. So Susan says, where does your journalism degree fit into your writing novels? Do you find it useful or hard to incorporate those skills that you learned?
Oh, that's a really great question. I think the journalism degree helped because it initially taught me to write tight and to go with the who is doing what, when, where, why, and how. So those 5 elements, while in a news story, basically have to be in the first paragraph, I've learned how to put them throughout the story. So that it's really helped me a lot, and actually had in mind when I was getting a journalism degree that I wasn't going to be a journalist, but a novelist anyway. So it kind of worked out. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Now, we have a great question from Jessie, too. How does it make you feel when one of your books hits the USA Today's bestseller list? Is a confirmation of your hard work? Or do you not pay any attention? Oh, no, you pay attention. That's a really good question. I would imagine. You actually pay attention to those things and the awards, even though they're so subjective. When I hit the USA Today bestseller list, it was a big surprise. And I did not know that I hit the list. And somebody emailed me with congratulations in the subject line. And I had just finished this book, I think, the Wedding Chapel. And, it's on Facebook, and a lot of my writer friends will write and say, congratulations. And so when I opened that, I thought it was going to say, congratulations for finishing your book. And she's like, congratulations, I'm so proud of you. You must be thrilled. And I was like, for what?
And she's like, you hit the USA Today. It's on RWA's Facebook page. And I'm like,
my gosh.
what? And so I was like running around screaming and doing the Macarena.
You're like, it's a real congratulations.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I was
amazing.
104 out of 150. So I wasn't even at the bottom. I was like I was right under the Fault in Our Stars. I was feeling pretty celebrity right there.
Wow.
That was cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question that I was thinking of. Because, characters are so strange, they kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You, like, have an idea about one, and then they kind of take on their own, life. Are there any characters in any of your stories or series that ended up really surprising you? Where you thought they're going this way, and they went complete, like, left field?
I am sure that's happened. I'm trying to think of an example of that, because I try to develop them beforehand so they don't take off on me.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways, this is kind of a general answer, but it's true. In some ways, every character eventually takes on a life of their own. I think Jade in the Songbird novels that I wrote with Sarah Evans, Jade ended up being kind of this person that I really wished I'd known. I wish she was real. I'll still think about her sometimes. So instead of becoming someone that I didn't expect, I think that happens a lot with secondary characters. You're like, oh, I thought this person was nice, but they're a villain. That'll happen. But with Jade, I was like, I wish you were real. I really want to talk to you. So, and it was a combination, I think, of Sarah's vision for the stories, as well as me as the writer, kind of pulling her together. That surprised me how much I really wanted her to be real.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It is very yes, it is.
So let's go all the way back to your first book that you ever wrote. So how do you think you've grown as a writer since then? What do you see, like, what kind of changes do you see?
A lot. I saw Harlan Coben put out one of his first books, but you don't have time to rewrite them. So he wrote this letter in front of it going, "Dear reader, I hope you enjoyed this book, but this was my first book, and I'm like way better now, so don't ding me for it." And I feel like I have this book called This Time, and it was e-published in 2004, before any e-books, before any of those. And I look at that now, and there's some things about it that I think are really great, like the heart of the characters, but their writing is so telling, even though I knew show versus tell and some of those things. Too many she thought, she said, she let, she felt, too much. I look at it now and I'm like, ooh. And I think it's a little preachy, although I thought I wasn't being preachy. I think I probably was for being in the inspirational market. So I would change that if I could, but I don't have time. And it is what it is,
Yeah, exactly. What do you think is the hardest part when writing a book? The beginning, the middle, or the end? Is there one particular spot that really is a trouble spot for you?
I think the middle is always hard. Even though I do a lot of planning and I try to anticipate what's going to happen in the middle, it's always the hardest part. And I actually think the writing is hard on the first draft because everything is bland. You write too many passive sentences, too many he smiled, he laughed, he nodded. In one book I kept saying, why is everyone walking through a door? Every time I turn around, somebody was at the door. And I'm like, get away from the door. No more doors.
Where are you all going?
I know. Get back in the story.
Sit down.
Yes. And so I think you find yourself in those loops. And then if your internal critiquer is on, then you start feeling like you don't know what you're doing. And it becomes too hard. So I try to keep that guy off and just go, spit it out. Spit it out. Just let it come out. Because you're going to discover something beautiful if you press through to the end. So.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of discovering something beautiful, who are some of your favorite writers, some of your favorite books on your shelves?
I was just talking about this with someone because I just love a great book. I mean, I don't have a clear-cut answer, but last year I read 100 Summers by Beatrice Williams, and like anybody who knows me knows I'm going to say that book. I love that book. I have it on my Kindle. I have a hard copy. It's on my desk. I'll just pick it up and read it. It's not an inspirational novel, so she's kind of in a different world than I am, but it was set in the 30s, and it just hit my sweet spot. Absolutely loved it. Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale I read this year was fabulous. Worth all the acclaim. I was glued to the book. Girl on the Train was really a fabulous read. I just kind of, I blew through that.
Yep.
So, you know, I love anything by Susie May Warren or Beth Vogt or what's the tag, some of my inspirational friends, Becky Wade, just great romance authors, tell great stories. Just think they do a fabulous job. Denise Hunter's like the top of the list on romance as far as I'm concerned. So pick them up, read them.
Yeah. Beatrice Williams stopped by our office and we did a chat with her like months back.
Really?
It was so much fun, yeah.
She was in Vero Beach at the book center.
Oh, yeah?
And I dropped everything. And I turned my editor onto the book. And she's like, I said, she's going to be here, but I'm writing. She said, no, go drop writing. Go down there and see her. And I got to go out to dinner with her. I was total fangirl. I was like, ooh.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Are you a NaNoWriMo fan? Since we know it's this month, do you partake in that?
I do if I'm writing. I'm rewriting right now, and I have a book due on Wednesday, the last draft.
Wow.
But yeah, totally. NaNoWriMo is usually, if you're coming up on deadline, like you have a January, February deadline, you're like, yay for NaNoWriMo, because I'll try to bust it and get my 50,000 or 60,000 words done before Thanksgiving. I really think if anybody wants to be a writer, look for that month to boost you, get you ahead.
Start it up,
Yeah.
Speaking of deadlines, Kate has a question. She says, how do you deal with managing stress when you're on deadline?
That's a really great question. I think everybody handles it differently. I pray a lot. I'm not kidding. I mean, that's not a pat answer. I just really am always like, Lord, you have to help me get through this. I try to get enough sleep, and I try to meet my schedule. So if I know I have a book due October 7th, which I did, then I say June, I kind of give myself 2 to 3 weeks to plan, do all that character development, look for research, try to find ideas, do an interviewing that I think I need to do to get started. And then when July hit, it's like I have to write 2,000 words a day until a certain point, maybe 3,000, because I do like a draft at around 70,000 words, then I start over and I draft to the end, and then I start over one more time, and that's when I turn it in. Wow. So I wrote that book 3 times between July and the 1st of October. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it was 100,000 words. I'm like, shoosh. But that's how I do it. It's like if you stay on track and stay and keep in touch. Like if I get stuck, I have writer buddies, I have writer friends, my writing partner. I call them and go, hey, I'm stuck. What do you guys think? And that's how. And at the end of the day, you just have to leave the work. Like any stress job, when you walk out of your office, even though you've got a pile of problems on your desk, you have to leave it there. So.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. Yeah. Is there a particular bookstore that you love to visit in your hometown that's like your go-to?
Oh, I love Barnes & Noble.
I like to see where people are going.
I love Barnes & Noble. And then we have a large Calvary Chapel store, and they have a bookstore within. And the girl who runs it was in youth church with my husband and I way back in the day. And she loves fiction. So that's a big boost, because a lot of times independent bookstores are just so busy. They maybe don't have a chance to really delve into fiction. Although a lot of independent stores do, but other stores maybe don't have a time because they're corporately run. So I love Barnes & Noble, and I love to go into the local bookshops and say hi to people. And
awesome.
Fun, yeah.
I love your book covers. They're gorgeous and modern and just very eye-catching.
Thank you.
Do you have any creative influence on your covers? Do you ever kind of throw an idea out there, or do they totally run with it and you just let them?
They let me throw out ideas, and then they go, nice,
That's
Rachel.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, the Wedding Chapel, strangely enough, when they first sent it to me, was the exact same cover of another book, which I loved. And I said, guess what, guys?
Oh, neat.
I love this cover, but unfortunately, it's already on another book. That's kind of running with me. It wouldn't have been right to have the same cover. So we kind of adjusted it to be the same concept, but with a very different look. So I always try to, writers, we go like, there's this element and that element and this color. Could you put that in the cover? And they're
Can't
like,
have it all in there.
No, we're going for a concept. You're trying to write the book in pictures. So
exactly.
Yeah.
You want to hint at what's inside, not have everything like
exactly.
the billboard.
Yeah, the billboard, right? Exactly.
Um, so speaking of, the wedding dress and the wedding chapel, what is the best wedding that you've ever attended?
Besides my own, of
Everybody
course.
has a great one and yeah. Well, that counts too.
Besides my own, I've been to a lot of weddings. I think I think each one is nothing. One in particular stands out. Each one. I just went to a wedding yesterday, actually.
Oh,
Each one
nice.
stands out on its own. The older
Hmm.
I get, the more I cry. So the bride just comes in the door and I'll start to cry. I'm not even, maybe I can't even see the bride or the groom's face clearly yet, but
Hmm.
I love weddings. They're such
Yeah.
joy. They're such a thing of hope. They're such a thing of, hey, society is moving on, it's family.
Hmm.
So yeah, I liked
Yeah.
my own wedding a lot.
Hmm.
It was very fun.
Where was that? Was
It
it
was here.
outdoor
It was
in
here
Florida?
in the church that I've been in for 28 years, believe it or not. Wow. Um, yeah, I met my husband there.
Amazing.
We got married there, and
Oh
we are
wow.
still there.
Aw,
It's really
that's so
cool.
nice.
Yeah.
What was your dress like?
Well, I got married in '92, so I was right in between the Diana puff sleeves and
Yes.
the strapless, right? So, and
Yep.
okay, here's something people maybe know about me or don't know about me, but they would observe it, but they can't say anything about it. I had hairy arms. And so when I was younger, they were a lot darker. And I'm like, I'm not wearing sleeveless on my wedding day because the camera flash made me look like a bear.
Yep.
So I wore long sleeves. I got married in March.
I'm the same.
Yeah,
I'm pale, so yay.
I got married. Yep. So there you go. You get married in March, and I had like a princess neckline, and then I had a plain
Oh,
skirt. It was very big, but it didn't have any applique or anything on. I just loved it. It was beautiful. So
classy. I love it.
yeah, it was.
So speaking of just like of writing tips, do you have any recommendations for writing resources that you've used? Is there anything online, any books that you always go back to that you could tell,
Yeah,
new writers
when
about?
I started out, I used Noah Lukeman a lot. I forget the name of the book, but it's about like something with your characters. It's a character book. I used that a
Mm-hmm.
lot in the beginning. I love things from James Scott Bell. He's a great writing instructor. His Man in the Middle book, I'm still trying to figure it out, but a lot of people are using it, and we're talking about it now with my writer buddies. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
I'm heavily involved in My Book Therapy, founded by Susie May Warren, which I'm saying this in all humility and honesty. Some of the things that she teaches, I think, are revolutionary as far as getting a writer started and getting them going. It's
Yeah.
mybooktherapy.com. And it changed the way I wrote and changed the way anyone that we mentor changes the way they write. And a lot of people are getting published or getting agented.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's a really great place to hang out. She has a Thursday night chat. There are tons of videos and
Fantastic.
blogs, and it's just crazy. And she does a couple of retreats
Lots
a
of
year.
interactive stuff.
Yeah,
That's
a lot of
great.
interactive stuff. So I just have learned a ton from her. She's a great writer, but she's a consummate teacher. And I think that's one of the
Oh,
things that
fantastic.
makes a great writing instructor is someone who, hey, let me figure out how to do that. Oh, I can break it down into easy steps
Yeah.
for everybody else. And there is no formula, as you know, to writing a novel. But you can't
Yeah.
write to a formula. But the more tools that you have in your belt that can really help you, the better it's going to be. And that's one of the reasons why I learned to write so fast, is because I had these tools
Mm-hmm.
that helped me to do that. So
Yeah. And it's writer. What is her website?
it's called
It's
mybooktherapy.com.
My Book Therapy.
My Book
Okay.
Therapy. Yeah, check it out, you guys. It's
Awesome.
really awesome.
Yeah. Do you have any upcoming conferences, book signings, anything fun that you're going to be doing to promote the Wedding Chapel? Or,
Nope.
you know,
You guys.
nope.
Just, we do most of our
Yay!
promotion online. So,
We're here.
yeah,
Exactly.
I love it. It's great to be
Way
here.
to go. Yeah.
And I haven't done a book signing yet.
Now, what was that?
I haven't gotten a book signing together yet, but that is a good idea.
You're going to get on that.
Yeah.
Kate wants to know, are you watching any shows right now? Are you a big romance fan? Is there anything that you're really into right now?
Yes, I'm a big romance
TV
fan.
land.
Let's see, TV Land. We just finished watching Longmire on Netflix. That was intense. If
Uh-huh.
you guys watched that, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I am
Mm-hmm.
I am stupid crazy about Downton Abbey. I'm like,
Yes.
I have watched all 5 seasons at least 5 times, and I am anxiously awaiting season 6, and I'm probably going to cry when it's all over, and I'll Jones on that for all spring. I'll watch it over and over and over. And I like,
Rewatch and rewatch, yeah.
yeah, I like Castle. That's a pretty good show, although I don't
Yeah.
know what they're doing that year with Castle and Beckett, but I'm like, let's get this thing
I
fixed.
know.
I'm a big rom-com fan. I loved the movie The Proposal. Notting Hill, While You Were Sleeping, just The Holiday is one of my favorite movies. Even my husband loves that movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm a sucker for romance. I have my rose-colored glasses. See?
Oh, oh yay! That's awesome. Now, when you're not writing, what are some other things that you like to do besides watching rom-coms and, what do you like to do?
I feel like I'm always writing, to be honest, but if I'm not writing, I try to read, because when you're writing, for me, reading is so hard. You spend a day in words, and you're like, the last thing you want to do is open a book. Your just heart and mind isn't there. So I do. My husband and I are kind of homebodies, so we like to stay home and watch. I'm a Voice fan, so I'll watch The Voice
Nice.
when it's in season. Although it makes me mad. I'm like, you're consuming too much of my time. But and now they give you points on their app.
So much of this.
I know, it's like, you only have this many points, and I'm like, ooh, I'm losing, and I haven't even started yet, But I like to exercise. I go to a 5:30 in the morning spin class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I try to hit weights.
Yeah.
Yep, try to hit weights a couple of days when I'm not on deadline. When I'm on deadline, it's like, if I get the laundry done, I'm doing good. And that, back to the stress thing, if you're running on stress, that's when you get rid of all of those other things. Like, I'm great. My husband will be like, okay, don't worry about it. I can eat cereal. So I don't feel like I have to have a perfect house, or, if the laundry is wrinkled, oh, well, we'll just go with it, So everybody knows.
It's nice to just like crunch away and get it done.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Got a little support system there.
Right, yes.
Susan has a great question that I don't really see that often. She says, do you have a favorite fairy tale?
Oh, yeah. Cinderella, for sure. I own all the Cinderella movies. Awesome. If I liked dolls, I would have the Cinderella Barbie. If I could justify, you know what I mean? But when I was, when my youngest brother and sister were like 8 and 6 or something, I would drive them to the movies, and I took them to see Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. I took them to see Cinderella, the animated version, and then we snuck into Seven Brides and Seven Brothers. So they like to tease me and say I taught them how to sneak into the movie without paying. So. But that wasn't the goal. It was just like, something you do when you're 17 and not smart.
Yeah, what are older siblings for, right?
What are we for, right? But, I mean, as soon as the Cinderella, the new one came out, I was there. My sister and her 2 daughters went. And so, yeah, Cinderella is a definite favorite of mine.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And the new one was amazing. That dress.
That dress was to die for.
Out of this world.
I loved it. It was gorgeous.
So what's like the overall message that you want readers to take away from your novels? That's a broad question, but it's just something that,
Yeah.
I was thinking of.
I love that they would be entertained, but I also love that I think they would leave with a sense of hope. That even if, one of the discussions that I've had with various people about the Royal Wedding series was, well, how many of us are actually going to be princesses? And I'm like, well, in some way we all are. And as a Christian, you kind of believe that we all are, Scripture tells us. But at the same time, I want people to feel like God has a plan for them. And I will get letters from people telling me, I got this out of your book, or this spoke to my heart. And it's something I thought, that wasn't even in my mind when I was writing it. I had a woman write to me after reading The Wedding Chapel, an advanced copy. And she had had a similar tough relationship with her father as Jack. And she read the scene where Jack got to some truth, and she said she just put the book down and cried because God was healing something in her heart while reading. That is never the ultimate goal, because I like to believe that there's space in the book for the reader. So while I'm the writer and I'm developing the concepts and I'm putting words in their mouths and things like that, I try to leave space for you to come into the story and find your space and your truth and find something that speaks to you that I may not have ever even thought of. So
Yeah.
I hope that it just is something that impacts them like 100 summers impacted me. Where you like want to tell everybody, read this book.
Yeah. Fantastic answer. Yeah, it's almost like a blank page for them to kind of.
Yeah, leave the space. And it's something I teach writers, like, don't fill in
That's for
everything. Leave room for the reader. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what are you working on next? Is there anything in the pipeline yet?
Yeah, totally. I'm
So we
finishing,
can all hear.
and what's due on Wednesday is The Wedding Shop. And this is about a wedding shop that was built in the 1890s, and it was run by an aunt and her great niece. And so it's set in 1930 mostly, and then the contemporary heroine comes along, but the shop is closed, and it's been excuse me, it's been closed for 30 years, and she wants to open it. So it's really about discovery of your destiny and your journey. It's about a discovery of family secrets. So we're going to take a look at this wedding shop and looking at to be a little bit different than The Wedding Dress, which the heroine ran a wedding shop. It's really about the brides who bought their dresses there and what the shop meant to them. So it's looking at the community of weddings and women involved in the weddings.
Yeah.
And I'm also working on A Royal Christmas Wedding, which is probably the final royal book. And it's about Avery and Prince Colin from Once Upon a Prince. And a lot of people will be like, oh, are they going to get their story? Well, they're getting their story. So that comes out next October. And The Wedding Shop next July.
You guys heard it here first.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very exciting. Yeah.
Fantastic. So we're almost out of time, but I had a rapid fire set of questions that's fun. So it's wedding edition. So when do you think the best time to get married is? Summer or fall?
Fall. Pretty.
Yeah. Best dessert, cake or cupcakes?
Ooh.
Or whatever you choose.
Cake from Publix. Store here.
Fantastic answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rings, modern or vintage?
Ooh, modern that look vintage.
Good
point. I love those.
Would your dress be extravagant or simple?
If I were to get married now, simple.
Yeah. No more puffy sleeves. You don't see that anymore.
No. But I'm tired of the strapless thing, so I'd have something, you know.
I know. Best trip, exotic honeymoon or a trip closer to home?
I think I would go with exotic honeymoon. Exotic.
Yeah.
Let's go with that. That's fun.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. So much fun to talk to you. Yeah. And I just want to remind everyone that we're giving away signed copies of The Wedding Chapel, and we're also giving away a $25 gift card to Amazon and also to Barnes & Noble. So please enter and stop by BookTrib. And thank you so much again, Rachel. It's been great.
Thank you, Amanda. It was great to be here. Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for asking questions. Take care.